Coming up next on Testify.
I felt like, for me, I had gotten to a point where even if I had enemies, I would never introduce them to such kind of a thing. Yeah, I had gotten to that point because I knew the pain in that place was. So I don't know why that man was the one sent to me that day.
So you're working in a rehab, but
Yes,
then you are addicted.
Yes. And for you to realize, I actually searched for a job and immediately I got one in a rehab because I was a guy who knew that I would get anything I want. So getting to a rehab, it was just a projection of... I thought it was a solution because I don't want anybody to know, because I knew if I go back, I'm about to lose everything I have had.
Hello and welcome to Testify right here on Hope TV, where you look and live. It's such a great joy to have you join us for today's edition, where our faith in Jesus Christ keeps growing. My name is Sharon Aitore Wangenye. Please remember to get in touch with us, connect with us through the WhatsApp number or through our SMS line or through our social media platforms. Today we're set for a great time because we have with us Mark Justin. He's just told me a bit of his story and I'm like, huh? All these things in such a short life, but God is faithful. He has saved him from all the schemes of the wicked one, and is here to testify of God's goodness. Karibu sana, Mark.
Asante. Thank you very much for welcoming me.
Yeah,
yes,
we're happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm also happy to be here.
And we're looking forward to hearing this story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also
the story
looking
of
forward
God's
to share
victory in your life.
Yes.
Let's start with who Mark is.
Mark is just a young man, 27 years old, saved from the footholds and the strongholds of the devil, and now ready and willing and so strong to go preach and minister people to come back to Christ.
Amen.
That's the most important thing.
Amen.
That's who I am. I'm a God's seed and I'm on a mission, and I am a God's soldier. And when I say this, I mean it. Yeah.
Amen.
Yes.
Part of the reason I'm excited about this interview is because of your age.
Yes.
And because of the fact that we have so many young people out there that are watching us today,
yes,
or will get to watch us one day, and they're languishing in a lot of,
yes,
they're in trouble. The devil has taken a hold of them.
Yes.
And their lives are not progressing.
Yes.
Let's get to your story.
Yes.
Where did you grow up? How was it growing up?
I grew up in Keharo constituency, a place called Kiagodo, a village called Gadiro, and I grew up just as a village boy, but mine was different because I grew up watching maybe my dad, whom I love so much now, beating my mom, coming in an alcoholic, so angry with life. And I saw, on the other hand, my mom hustling her way to make sure that me and my sisters, I have 3 sisters who are all married, that got a good education.
You're the last born?
I'm the last born.
Okay.
And I remember one day my mom went to my grandfather and told my grandfather, I want to give my son a good education. So she transferred me from a public school to a private school because she knew that maybe her son had so much potential in her. My grandfather asked her, are you sure we will be able to get the funds? But she was like, I believe my son will go through. And I was able to go through the whole of primary school. Though there were so many voices, specifically in the village, and people will judge you based on who they know your past is, specifically how your family tree is. Maybe this never happens in your family. Your family is like this. So, I mean, the devil used those voices to make sure that they sink into my mind. And even though I tried moving on, these voices were still there. That you're not good enough, your family is like this, your family like this. I never saw the good things that were still there in my family, were still there with my grandfather, were still there with me. And they would affect me later in life.
What were they saying? What was wrong with your past or your family tree?
My family tree, my dad is an alcoholic. So what else would they have said? His son is only going to end up the same way. All the odds are against my family. Of all the people, my dad if you know about alcoholism, I'm not talking about the 1-2 drinks. It's the drinking where you find your dad selling everything. It's the drinking where you find your dad has nothing left out of his life. It's the drinking where the doctors tell him that if you drink again, you're going to be dead. I don't even know how God was even able to save my dad. And that's how life works. So I still believe even up to date. And that's what I tell my dad. God still has a purpose with you, no matter the age. And like I told you right now, I might be 27 years old. I might be living up to 35, God forbid. My dad is 70, maybe living up to 100 years. So in reality, I'm young, I'm older than him. So if he is to live complaining about things which happened, that means he will be having more 30 years of full tragedy in his life. So he just has to accept that everything happened, and I am here for him as a son, and that's the most important thing. Yes.
Okay.
And other voices, sorry about that.
It's okay.
The other voice I had is, you know, my grandfather was a staunch Christian, a canon. So definitely, if your own son is a pastor, if your own son is a canon, is drinking, and you're the person going to church every day. But I never saw my grandfather give up, no matter what people told him. But you see, I picked these voices from the people saying, you know, your grandfather is drinking every now and then, you're drunk, and your grandfather, you're not my grandfather, my dad is drinking, and his father is a canon, you see. So I started feeling like maybe I'm from a caste family. There's something maybe which was never done into my life and all that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your mom was able to, or is it now your mom only, or both your parents were able to take you through education? Take me through that phase of life? To
a certain point, it was my mom. But when my dad recovered back in 2004, he was very responsible from there on. Okay. He was the one. Oh, I remember when I was in high school, and that's one thing I love my dad for. He never missed, not even a single prize-giving day or a family day. And he was not the guy the dad to carry a newspaper. He would bring in some goodies, even if he doesn't have enough money. But you know, I still have those voices which are telling me your dad still is not good enough. So I never loved him to that much at that point. But from my angle now, he did so many things to make sure I am the man I am today. If he didn't step up and recovered back in 2004, I don't know if I would still be the same man.
Okay. All right. So let's now go to the story.
Yes.
So you grow up, take me through high school, or through primary high school.
Yes.
Then where did things start going south?
Things started going south when I was in class 8. Remember, my dad recovered when I was in class 4. I am still lying to everybody that I'm performing in school. I was in certain academy. Your dad recovered when you were in class 4? Yes, I'm class 4. Okay. But now I started seeing him back when I was in class 8, class 7. So when I was in class 8, one paying school fees, one coming to school. And
let me just ask you before you proceed.
Yes.
What brought about the recovery of your dad?
He was taken into a rehab, a Sumbi Rehabilitation Center in Homa.
Oh, okay.
And that's why he was taken in back in 2004. Her sister with my aunt and my uncles and my grandfather now and my grandmother were able to team up, and they took him to rehab. Oh, wow. Yeah.
And that was it? He was...
After the 3 months, he always tells me he hated alcohol from there.
Wow.
Because he always tried to quit it, but he was unable to.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's now continue.
Yes. So 2008, I'm in class 8. He comes into my life. He tells me, you know, Mark, I know you are lying to me. I went to school today and your grades were pathetic. You have been telling me you're number 1 and you are the last one. So he just told me, even before I did the exam, that I have to repeat high school, primary school. Oh. And that's something I will never accept. So immediately after the initiation... Was it true that you were actually performing badly? I was performing badly. I had lied to him. Okay. So you see, I had started to bring up this bad version of me. And now everybody has started, all the odds are against me, because everybody is now saying, look at the direction he's following. Now he's trying to be the same as the dad. And what was affecting your performance? Most definitely, I want to fit in with people. Okay. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I don't have the energy enough to be with the rest. And that's why I was getting affected most of the time. Okay. So after primary school, the thing that my dad had said happened. I repeated primary school, and I hated that part. Even though I was so good in the first term of primary school repeating, I started now using drugs, hanging out with the bad boys. And I remember one day being taken into a nearby police station, and the head teacher of the school saying, I will do anything to eliminate you from the school. and you go study somewhere else, come back during KCP because we had already registered. And I went for the KCP. I never performed anyway.
You actually had to go study elsewhere and then go back to...
And then come back to KCP. And the only reason was because the registration had already been done. Yeah. There was no, it would be revoked. So after KCP, the results come in now the second time. First time I scored 319 marks. This time I scored 321 marks. This is something I love, 322 marks. This is something I love with my friends because I added 1 mark each time.
Each time.
But this is one thing I want you to see. I remember after the results were out that evening,
yeah.
my grandfather had this pickup. We were driving with my grandmother and him. And he was driving us now back home. He told me one thing I never forget. Let those no grades not define you. You still have a long way to go, and I still believe that you're still going to come out better. Everybody had, all the odds were against me. But my grandfather came and told me, I still believe in you. My dad still told me the same words. And sometimes they may not say it with words, but their reaction is, the anger and all that, is because they love you and they want the best for you. So from there, I get to high school. Actually, I was invited to the same school I had been invited the first time. Okay. And this time, I had even to bargain my way in. Okay. So
did it frustrate you so much that you repeated a whole year and you added just 3 marks?
I think I never used to care. I was at that point in life, I never used to care. That was in me then. Right. So I get to high school. I am trying to... I feel like I hated my dad now. I start hating him. I'm getting to the adolescent stage where I start hating him. I start receiving these comments from everybody. Your dad is like this. Your dad is like this. And
but your dad has changed. Why are they still talking ill about your dad?
I'm talking ill about him at that time because, remember, there are so many voices, specifically. Yes, he changed. The alcoholism part came, but most of the issues, the underlying issues, we call them underlying issues in recovery, were not dealt with.
All right.
He still had the emotional wounds, which made him to overreact. He still felt like he wasn't there enough for us. Okay. So these things may be used to make him feel so much pain. So he still had issues with my mom. And as the only son, I had I used to feel bad watching my mom, all these things happening. So Form 1, I remember starting having issues in high school. Form 1, Form 2, I'm having issues with the principal and everybody in school. I'm trying to fit in with the boys and trying to show everybody that I am social enough. And I feel like I'm not social enough again. So even though I was this bad boy, there was one experience which changed my life. My sister gets invited to the University of Nairobi. When I'm in Form 1, she invites me to get to the hostel. They are living with my other sister who is in Kenya Poly. Right now it's known as TUK. And when there, my sister motivates me, starts telling me, actually, her idea was study so hard and get to Moranga High School. When I was in class 8 now, because everybody here in the university is from that school. I don't know why he was telling me that. And though I never studied, so when I get there, I get so much motivated by seeing how university life is, how she's living there, you know, and all that. So I started studying so hard when I was in Form 3. And I was able to score a good grade, a B+, and I was able to get a place.
Oh, you got a B+?
Yes, I got a B+, 69 points.
Okay, you did?
I was actually the best in geography in my ward.
Okay.
Yes, so I got a place at the University of Nairobi again.
This time you're still, first of all, you've not even told us which drugs had you started abusing?
I abused bang back in class 8, but I never used it again up to when I complete Form 4.
Oh, so in high school you're clean off drugs?
Clean, I'm clean off drugs, but I'm a messed person. My soul is messed up. Yeah. Emotionally, I'm on another level in terms of I used to get born again, I backslide in the next moment. My grandfather is talking to me. But I love one thing about my grandfather. One day I remember them coming to school when I had an issue with the principal and everybody else. And he sat down there with my dad telling me, and my dad was so much concerned, something I would never see. He came in there with my grandfather started reading the word of God, telling me, my grandson, I always tell you one thing. And he always told me about Proverbs 1. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom and knowledge. And every time I was going to my grandfather's place, or I'm visiting him or he's talking to me, that is the only thing he would say. And even when he's giving me money, he used to tell me, take this, buy a handkerchief, but remember one thing, like I always tell you, Proverbs 1, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And that's the only thing he impacted into my mind. Anything my grandfather saw in me, he saw maybe somebody who would come out there later and help so many people get to know God.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
So,
So continue. So
I get to high school. After high school now, we migrate from Moranga. We get to a place called Banana Kiambu. While there, my sister now get married, all of them. I performed this poem during one of my sisters, my youngest sister, wedding. She's called Joycelyn. I perform a poem, and everybody now starts hugging me. They start realizing maybe there is something in Mark that we never saw all that long. And that's how God works.
Oh, you are a poet?
Yes, I used to be a poet and a good one in high school. But all these things faded because of the addiction and all that.
Okay.
You know, when you're young, God gives you glimpses of you becoming so successful. And the devil tries to kill these things when they're so young, right? And I feel like that is what the devil was trying to do. He was trying to kill all these dreams and ideas and all that when I'm young, because it's very easy to kill something when you're young. That's why they tried to kill Jesus when he's still young. Yeah. So when I'm in the university now, I get to university. We are living in Banana. I have some friends who, some of them are okay, some of them are not. I start getting into church nearby ACK. Some of them started telling me, you're not supposed to be in church. Some of the things I'm seeing in church are not okay to me. And you know, as a Christian, even if these things are happening wrong, that should not be the motivation for you to quit on God. But for me, because I wasn't that strong, I quit on church and I quit on God after realizing that the young people there are not behaving their way up to standard, you see? So I get into campus. The person who took me to campus the first day is my sister, my second-born sister called Jerry. She takes me to, the first desk she takes me to school in is the CU desk. And they tell me that this used to be our secretary in CU. They used to call her our mom.
Okay.
And she's loved. So when they see my sister now with the brother, they realize that now our Mercy has brought us a very amazing follower now.
Yeah.
So these guys pick my number immediately, because they now know that they have a strong member in the CU. But I get into campus, the hostel and the room I get into, the people there are not doing the right things. And there is a reason as to why maybe God brought me into that room. And even though these CU people used to call me, I used to hang up the phone and they got tired at that point.
Oh,
yeah.
You would not talk to them?
I would never used to go to church. How would I used to be a hippie. If you know, a hippie is somebody who is in that life, like partying, women. That was the life.
Okay.
So, but I had this dream that I want to be successful and different from my dad at that point.
What did you want to, what did you get into campus to study?
I got into campus to study Bachelor of Arts, Economics, Psychology, and Political Science. But I would later drop Political Science when I was in second year. But initially, I had started with Economics, Political Science, and Geography. Okay. Because I thought I was so good at geography. But after doing it for 2 weeks, I realized this is not I just did it in high school to perform good.
Okay, so what was success for you like? What did the picture of success look like?
At that time, I used to love hip-hop. I had been introduced to so many musicians at that point, listening to The Game, Jay-Z, all these secular hip-hop artists.
Yeah.
So, and you know the lifestyle they portray.
Yes.
But maybe they might not even believe in that lifestyle. Big money, big cars, beautiful women, the quick, easy life. Yeah. So that was the life I got to.
That is what you're envisioning.
That was what I saw.
Okay.
And I remember I used to even trade in shares. I remember buying shares in our own company. But because I wanted everything quick, I never studied well enough, and I lost so much money because the shares of that company went down because the company was closed. And at this moment, I'm also so much interested in studying these billionaires. So that's why I started studying Sergey Brin and Larry Page, the founders of Google. I started studying Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook guy. I started studying Warren Buffett, started studying Bill Gates. Actually, now I was studying these people on another level. I thought that I believed I was to get to the position they were one day.
Okay.
That's how I believe.
Okay.
But I never knew how. So when I start seeing people now having ways they are making money, the roommates I'm with, So one day I tell them, let's go where you guys make money. So they take me to this building at Kimathi Street, a city casino down there. It's a casino called City Casino. And though we started at that floor, gambling on football, one day I want to see what happens on the first floor. And that's why I see some, I'm there the same
So what would happen in the third floor?
We just place our money. Same thing that happens on these spot books, where you place your money on the accounts, now on the phone, and you're able to bet.
Okay.
Now the difference between these places and the spot and the online betting platforms is that there were no charges, and it was fast. So that's how I thought. And so one day as I'm coming from there, I find the casino has 3 floors. At the second floor, there are some tables, which I would later realize they are called roulette, and there is a club there. That floor, those machines, the football machines, where people bet on horses. That's where basically young people are.
Mm.
The first floor, now this is where I never saw the picture. As immediately I got in there, because you remember I am a guy who will try everything. Sorry, I'm a guy who will try everything, remember, and I will get into everything to see how I will be in this club. So I tried to see what exactly is happening in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And that one way, I mean, that is a personality I have come to realize can either work my way or another,
or against
me, trying to experience everything.
Okay.
Because this one now was about to work against me, because I get into the casino, the first floor. I gave this guy, this mzee I meet, a bit older than my dad. I give him 500 shillings. He tells me that this guy was sent by the devil that day, because he told me how he makes money in that place. And
so you're giving him 500 to do what?
To bet for me on that. It's a roulette table where you place money.
Okay.
In a few minutes, the money has quadrupled. Actually, has increased in a big way. 2,500 shillings, I give him 500, I'm left with 2,000 shillings. And I'm like, wow, this is how billionaires make money. This is how Warren Buffett and all these billionaires and these hip-hop artists make money.
Okay.
But I never saw the things which, I mean, on these, I never saw the frustrations in these people. Later on, I would even steal from this mzee who introduced me to casino. And I know maybe my watch, but I had so much blame on him. I remember even sending people, and we bet him when I was in the streets, because I felt like he had messed up my life. I felt like, for me, I had gotten to a point where even if I had enemies, I would never introduce them to that kind of a thing. Yeah, I had gotten to that point, because I knew the pain in that place was. So I don't know why that man was the one sent to me that day. And I have no time for that, for regrets anyway. So it starts on, I have a roommate, we are going there every day. He quits on the game, starts realizing he's making losses. I have not started making losses maybe. And my other friends whom I had introduced, like, said that is not a good thing. But for me, I am still into it. So the money...
It's good business for you. You're making money.
Yes. Actually, one day I go to my sister's place and I'm like, I don't want to live in my sister's place because I can rent a house and be paying my money through the casino. And that's how I used to feel. So, but I start first semester, I fail all my units. I used to study a course called CIFA, Certified Investment Financial Analyst. But my section 1, I fail all of it. The reason I fail all of it is because I spent most of the time in that place. But I never used to see the problem in it.
But it was a day and night thing?
At that time, it was a day thing.
Okay.
I am not, most of the time, if I'm not in class, I feel like I am brilliant enough to study those. I felt like those were not my league. Because, you know, I'm this guy who had even studied some ways to create an app, ways to the HTML courses and all that. So I felt like this is just a pastime. Then I just finished campus. I thought everything was to happen instantly.
Okay.
I would score. And that would later affect my grades. Yeah. So after completing first semester, I only passed one paper, which is entrepreneurship. All the other papers, I failed them. And my sisters now start realizing that maybe there's a problem. I haven't told them that I have a gambling issue. My brother-in-law, on the other hand, a hardworking man, a man who follows the way of the Lord. But for me, now, I never wanted to live in that house because there are rules. And that is it. God has standards. To live by God has standards. But that's not what I wanted. I never wanted to be with somebody who is telling me, don't come here. But I never knew that this was love. They were doing this out of love.
Yeah.
You see? So I had to find myself so many times with problems with them, even after working for them after some few months, working in the hardware, being able to bring in so many customers, something I never saw that maybe that's some good area I had in my life, because I still have those voices that I'm not good enough, my father is doing this. And so getting back to second year, even though I had quit a little bit and said I've gotten born again, I was easily persuaded back into the gambling thing.
All right, just hold it right there.
Yes.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Let's gather together and sing praises, worship, and hear God's word.
You, as a representative of the body of the church, represents the church wherever you are.
In Deuteronomy chapter 6, we're reminded that God has invested this expectation on our lives. We are then to pass it on to our children.
Here on Sitam Broadcast Service. Join us every Sunday from 10 a.m. for impactful, life-changing CBS Family Service on Hope FM and Hope TV, where you look and live.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Testify, and my guest today is Mark.
Yes.
So, tumeachia second year.
Yeah. Now, after second year, I have started having so many issues, you know, women, money. My sisters now stopped sending me money the way they used to, because they started realizing I have a problem. Actually, I now tell them when I'm in that year that I have a gambling issue. My grandfather was the one mostly affected. I remember him. He even kept quiet, never talked again. He was like, huh? Are you sure that is happening? And maybe he dealt with that through prayer. And along the way, I started having issues. Loans, selling my phones. I don't have...
So now the business is making losses.
Losses, and that's how gambling is.
Yeah.
It starts with the winning. And what motivates you even when you're losing is because it has now come to an addiction. And those thoughts when you used to win, they are still lingering.
The mind is telling you you can still win.
You can still win. You can still scoop back your losses and get out of it. That is a mindset.
Okay.
And the other mindset is that you get to a point where you are doing it because, not for the fun, not for money. You're doing it because you want the highness. Same way somebody would use cocaine for highness.
Oh.
You want that highness.
It gives a high.
It gives a highness. So even when you're losing or you're winning, it gives you the same effect. That's why a gambler will do anything, steal, whatever, you have to do that. And once I got into this other side, one way to beat addiction is through discovery. So I had to discover what exactly is in this gambling that I can be able to fight it for once and for all.
Okay.
So at this time, I'm losing everything.
This is in third year?
Third year. At this point, a friend of mine called Walker introducing me to a church nearby, St. Andrews. And I meet some young people there, vibrant, a group called Safe. I joined church. I joined church, but I never got to be joined with God. That is how I put it, because I was still doing the same things.
You're in church, but you're...
Yes, it was just a projection of who I was in that other life.
Okay.
Because even if I was not stealing, I was stealing using some other ways.
Yeah.
I was still having girls, in a way, thinking that now these are better off girls. And...
so your money would go to women, or what?
At that time when I'm in church, no. At that time necessarily now, I have, it's a platform where now I have not worked on myself as an individual. I feel like my issues have instantly been worked on just because I got to join a church. Okay. That is how I would put it. So I am still doing some of these things. I am, we call them the dry gambler. you're not gambling, but you're still doing the same things a gambler, an active gambler would be doing.
Okay.
So that is exactly what I was doing. So immediately, I leave, I get to church, I form this group called Confession Club, and I get so many followers. One day we go to my village, being given a full bus to go there to speak to young people about addiction. But that's, I believe, that's how the devil now was able to cut that short. Because after some few months and frustration in a relationship I had that time, I got back into gambling. And this time now, you know, this time the demons come with all their members. And I was able to come into it big time and full time. This time it came even with the suicidal ideations. And the guy who was telling people about suicide is now in it. Yeah, and I feel like maybe...
What was the confession group about?
The confession group was about going into the villages, you see. Because I'm from a village, I never knew anything about casinos. So maybe if I talk to these people about what awaits them in Nairobi, because they think if you come to Nairobi, that's where the good things are. Not knowing that there are some things which are disguised. And they are going to attack you big time.
All right.
Yeah, so that is what Confession Club was all about. But in the process, I start thinking of suicide. I actually...
Why? How desperate is this situation?
I was desperate. I wish... I was desperate in a way that everybody now knows I'm back. I had already told them the stories of what I used to do. So basically, what I see is they already know that I'm doing the same things now. Yeah? And I know what gambling can do. And I'm back in it. You see? And the same voices that I'm going to end up as my father, as the alcoholic who was not able to be there for my dad. All this put together, I was out there to break. I took some poison once, taken to my family, paid debts and all, and they came up together, advised me. But a week later, I will be back because they paid the debts, they enabled me because, again, all these emotional traumas and the issues I had were not solved. So I was not able to graduate on time. I was able to do, I was jumping from a relationship to a relationship. Yeah? And there was this relationship, and I don't think she would be having any problem. And that was the last one, it's the last one I had. And her name was Susan. And immediately, I had some relationship with her from second year. Not relationship, but basically a friendship. And there was so much connection between me and her, even as friends. I was the one, she was the go-to person. Yeah, go-to person. If I had issues, I was the one, she would tell me these issues. And so we started dating at that time when I'm completing for the year. She graduates, scores good grades, and all my friends graduate. But I tell her that I want to go to rehab after I did something very bad to a friend of mine. And I was so guilty I had to go to rehab at that time. So going to rehab, I think I went to rehab just to please Susan, please my mom, please my dad, please my sisters. Just show that part of me that thinks that I will end up like my father, that I am not. And I still have those voices that I want to be successful. So I still believe that this is not the life I deserve. So when I'm in rehab, she's the one, and my family, they are always there for me.
But, Mark, but let me ask, you had gone to rehab for what? What did you need?
Gambling.
Cured.
Gambling cure, but there was no gambling rehab. So I went into an alcoholic rehab.
Okay, all right, continue.
And the program for me was the same, because the issues are the same. Apart from that, alcoholism, you'll be able to identify it earlier.
Okay.
Compared to gambling.
Okay.
So in rehab, I received so much love in rehab. My friends came to visit me, my family, everybody I termed as a good person in my life came to visit me. So when I leave rehab, remember now, I believe now my relationship with Susan, my relationship with my family will be better now. Right? Yeah. And with my friends. It was. I even, and you know, these ladies, they see that potential because she was able to pressure me into becoming the best version of me, telling me every day I still see something so great in you. So I get into the Gikomba market. At this time, I had gotten to a Coca-Cola company there doing some merchandising, but due to corona reasons, it never worked. And so I got into the Gikomba market. Immediately, I'm the one being sent to go for bails I'm not selling clothes, I'm selling the bells themselves. Okay. So these people are the ones giving me money to get, I mean, I had this obsession. I want to, you see, I still have the memory that I want to make it. I want to be different from dad. But I have not dealt with the issues which are affecting me, the emotional trauma. I still have not forgiven my dad. I remember one day, I used to do devotions with my grandfather before he died. And every morning he used to wake up at 4:30 to just do devotion for 1 and a half with my grandmother. So one day I told him, I have a desire maybe to know God. How can I become him? So one day after the devotion, my dad kind of admires what we are doing with my grandfather. But I am not talking to him because he had told me some things the day before which were about my past. And so when he comes to my grandfather, he tells my grandfather, why are you letting my son do devotions with you? And he hasn't even talked to me and all that. And my grandfather was a person who would cool you down no matter how tough you came in. So he says, no. He tells me, Kamau, I have never seen a father who says sorry to their son. Wise words. Please forgive your dad. If there are words which he said yesterday which are still giving you pain, that means you have not worked on them. Those were my exact words from my grandfather. And he told me one thing. If you are coming to Christ, you have to behind all those issues and forgive your dad. I told my dad, my grandfather, Grandpa, I am not forgiving my dad and I will never forgive him. Wow. After he told me these words. But my grandfather was not the person to chase you. Good Christian. He told me, let's take tea. And he prayed. And that was all. Well, that was it. And it's not that he didn't allow me to devotion the next day. He actually did the same. Yeah. And at this moment, because my mom also has so many emotional problems because of maybe the life she had been put through. So most of the time she used to tell me issues and all this. And they will affect me as a son, obviously.
I can imagine,
and I feel like I have to live for her and prove that a man can be good. I don't have to make somebody go through all these issues. So after I drive at Gekomba, I start now, because I hadn't learned how to handle money, how to deal with women, how to deal with some of the issues which will come up. I go back again. Because of gambling. The pressures, Okay. And what brought me back is, I still have these issues. I don't want to pick even my dad's phone. I have so many issues I had never dealt with. So gambling found its way back. Initially, I remember I sold everything I had in a week. And for you to realize how God has given me that ability, these are things I had made in a period of not even more than a year, because I got into Gekomba on June. And by October, I had a house fully packaged. And not the small stuff. Big money. And that is the life now I want, you see.
Yeah.
So, and mostly because of the motivation I had from this lady called Susan, because she would inspire me every day. And there are so many things inside me which I still don't love. I can't show her, but not about her, but about me. Not about my family, but about me and my dad and my family. I still feel like we are not good enough. Okay. So I easily get back into it. At this time, my grandfather is dead. Still an issue I had not dealt with. And like I told you, when issues come, when you relapse, it's not that you start over. You go back to where you had come to an end. So I came back and I selling all these items in a week. Suicidal now in another level. I became a problem to this lady. I became a problem to my family. I became a problem to everybody. And for you to realize how amazing this lady was, she never told my family for a period of about 2 months. A friend of mine called Walker had just come living into my apartment, into the apartment I used to live in. And so he realized that my house is closed. And so he called me and asked me, why is your house closed? Why? And you have been living. So I told him the whole story. Out of love, he found a way to tell somebody who would later come. And I remember, addiction is like pregnancy. No matter how much you hide it, people will eventually see it. And that is exactly the same thing. I hid it, and immediately the first person to see it, because she had known me so much, is Susan, and she was able to see the addiction then. And I remember her calling my family, crying. My mom first. My mom at that time was drunk because she also had issues and the alcoholism.
Drunk.
Yeah,
Okay.
the alcoholism was in her.
Okay.
Was something she had developed, and I don't know. I just have to say this for somebody who is struggling. Yeah.
Right.
So my mom was called that day. She was very bitter. And I switched off all the phones. Now I'm back into gambling big time. I had started now working in a rehab. I ran away from the Gikomba markets because of debts. And
so you're working in a rehab, but
yes,
then you are addicted.
Yes. And for you to realize, I actually searched for a job and immediately I got one in a rehab. I felt like, for me, I had gotten to a point where even if I had enemies, I would never introduce them to such kind of a thing. Yeah, I had gotten to that point because I knew the pain in that place was. So I don't know why that man was the one sent to me that day. I have had, and I've already lost all the items I had in the house. And I tried to restrain myself when I was a neighbor, and I lost all of them. Kind of to show you how the sickness in addiction and why you should love an addict.
Yeah.
I lost all these items.
So you sold them off so that you can gamble.
And I gambled, and this is money you will gamble. I remember.
You gambled and lost.
Yes, when after selling my TV and my TV stand, that is an amount of money which was not able to even go beyond 3 hours. And it wasn't small money that I sold. And sometimes you will get to a point where you will sell stuff at a price which
throw away.
Throw away prices because the urge is on the urge. So when I'm in rehab, working there.
How did you convince these rehab people to give you a job, yet you are addicted yourself?
I talked to them, and I knew, and after all the people, they employed me.
With all the interrogation, they didn't find out that they couldn't.
How could they? I didn't think they would. But eventually they would, because I was the one who told them. And actually, all the issues I was doing, sometimes not even available, they came to.
And it's interesting
realize.
Because many times when we think of addictions, we think about alcohol and drugs, and because those are things that we can actually see.
True.
But this is a different kind of.
Yeah, and that shows you how the devil is also strong, because he
cunning.
knew I hated alcohol because I saw it in my dad.
Yeah.
And he knew I loved that quick way to get money and to be rich.
Right.
So he will use that to kill my dreams, to kill the dreams I had, to kill this vibrant guy who was later going to speak about God. So at this time now, in rehab, it doesn't work. I imagine at the point where I was retrenched in that job was when I drank poison. It's this diazepam medicine which is meant for the people who are mentally challenged. So I took an overdose, so many tablets, and used a Coca-Cola. And I had called so many psychiatrists because I had their numbers, and I used to call them that whole week asking them, if there is somebody who has drunk an overdose of diazepam, can it kill him? And they would tell me, rush him immediately to hospital, that is danger. So I would take that, I place it somewhere. So one weekend, a client of mine, rich guy, comes, leaves me some money. So I get some Coca-Cola, I gamble all the rest of the money. And when this suicidal thoughts come, they make you do weird stuff because you know you are coming to
the end of your life.
So I call, at this time, my relationship has started hitting the wall with Susan. And I put her through so much. And at this time, she's crying. I call her, tell her about the suicidal thoughts. And she's like, I don't know, maybe her prayers and the prayers from my family and the prayers my grandfather had planted were the ones which saved me, because 2 days later I would be in a hospital. These water drips were the ones now which was being put in my body.
You woke up 2 days later?
Yes, in a hospital.
Wow. And
the doctors were like, you're the first person we have seen survive in such a way.
Oh.
After taking an overdose.
Wow.
Yes. So immediately when I went back to rehab, the owner said that he cannot employ me again. No matter how, and I was good in that rehab. I had so many customers I had helped. And what used to pain me again is that I'm helping people come out of addiction and I'm still in it.
Yeah.
So the owner is like, no matter how much you give to us, now if the Nakada people or these people come to this rehab and see how much you have, what you have done, it is a problem to us. So I lost the job. I tried finding my way back into Gikomba. When I went back to Gikomba, there were some women who were very happy to see me back. And I remember one told me, we are so happy you are back. Even though there are people you have debts, you will still pay them back. You have the favor of God, Mark. Those were the words they told me. But I hate myself. I still have those sorts of the items I lost, the items of how my, and all that. So I never used to drive again because I stole so much money from these people. Again. And now this time I messed up the name. So what I used to do now is I had been given a small room by a friend of mine, and he told me, use that, maybe you can change. So I used to come from this room, a bedsitter, walk to Westlands and all these casinos, gamble the whole day, sold all the items in that house, sold even his carpet, the guy who had helped me, started stealing carpets in that apartment. And then now I started stealing phones from casinos to find a way if I would be banned from them. And this time I have no contact with anybody. I have no phone. I am just pressuring my relationship with Susan because I want her back immediately. And I feel like she's the one who is going to help me. And definitely, as a lady, you want a person who will protect you, who will be a provider, who will be that. And I wasn't that man. And I confidently say that, So at this time, I have no conversation with anybody. I don't have a phone. I don't even want to have a conversation because I don't want to know how my fans are faring on in life because I know it will give me more pain. So the suicidal thoughts, I don't know how God had, they were not there anymore. But I knew maybe they are just hiding somewhere. So immediately I lose contact with my friends. I graduate I graduated but late. I graduated late. It was late. Because my friends graduated in 2019, I graduated in 2021 because of units I had missed because of gambling. And because of the addiction. And because of being in rehab. Graduation happened when I was in rehab. So, last year starts, kicks off. At this time, I don't want to be with anybody. I am a frustrated man.
So who are you living with now that you stole from your friend?
I am in the village.
Oh, you went back home?
I go back to the village. But because you see, I still have so many issues with my dad. And at this time, my mom develops a complication in terms of health. So she's diagnosed with cancer. This hits me. And I run away. A friend of mine gives me a place to stay. Another friend of mine gives me a place to stay for. I stay there for 5 days. But you know, we are grown-ups. Living with somebody sometimes, and they have their own issues. So I leave. I immediately leave. And now I started living in the streets. These friends from the streets now we were gambling with showed me these places. And now I have migrated from gambling in the high-end casinos to sports shops in town where you can place even 50, which means you can't even have 50 shillings in your pocket. So it is at this time I start drinking. I started now finding ways to steal from people.
The drinking that you hated?
Yes, now I'm drinking heavily. And the cheap liquor those alcohol, those backstreet drinks. And then now I start hanging around with the bad boys in the streets, and now they know me. And you know the devil, I feel like if you are anointed, you have the favor of God and the favor of Satan. It's up to you to choose which favor you want because the devil knows that he can use you in a way to bring so many people to him. And God still knows that you can be an asset in his kingdom. So to me, I believe the devil knew that I was an asset. So I was the one who these gangsters would come to me and tell me, you have this way you can talk to these people and convince them. And we used to steal from them. We used to bring them to play pool. And definitely this lifestyle was not giving me the amount of money I needed. So I used to live in those seats in the club. Let me not mention the club's names and all that. So I'm living in those seats. And I'm hanging around bad boys. They fear me though. Not many people know me. Actually, some of them were like, how did you come the other day in these streets and you are the one running these streets? I was respected and feared in a way. And I never was the person who loved violence. One way that saved me so many issues with these people. But it's not that I hated violence, but I never feared one. That was my motto. If you bring up one, we had to sort it out. So again, you see there are ladies in the streets and all that. I'm in no communication with people. So one day I steal a phone from the casino. I get so drunk with a friend of mine. Because of being drunk and a part of my mind, I realized the other day it's called the insular cortex, which is responsible for awareness, was already affected. So even making quick decisions like these people might be searching for me in another casino was not easy for me. So I went into another one, and that's why I was arrested, taken to Kilimani police station. And because no one I would have called to bail me out, like they used to bail me out in the past. I had been bailed out a year ago at Runda police station. And I remember I had been arrested because of stealing another phone. And this guy, there was these guys who were running after me. And a soldier came and told them, this guy, I know him, he's a good guy, I don't know what he happened today, just don't beat him up. And I was saved from that because these guys would have killed me. They came saying that I'm the one making their business look bad. So this time, I am taken...
okay, I'm told that time is
I am taken to jail. After jail, I get to develop some friendships in jail, but I leave jail, I have not changed. Later on, my mom would be diagnosed with cancer. When I'm in the hospital, I visit her infested with chawa and kunguni because I'm living in the streets and I'm always in every jail. I hate myself in every way. But after she dies, a friend of mine comes and tells me, you know, this might be the time you can live for your mom. And that's why now I start getting the desire to know God on a deeper level. I started asking myself why I had relapsed all these times. And I realized it's because I had not worked on me. I had given the responsibility on other people to help change me, which was impossible. I had to first forgive my dad. And that was a painful decision. But in recovery, you have to make some of the toughest decisions for you to recover. I had to cry so many times alone, something I never did in the past, kneeling on that bed. And I still do that, crying unto God. And any moment I have faced battles in life from when I got born again, I have won them through prayer. I promise you, my phone now, I have used it as asset. I listen to sharings, and I listened to Sarah Jakes, the daughter to the renowned TD Jakes, talking about how she got divorced and all that, and how she was able to make a comeback. And these people don't even realize that. They might be posting these things, but there is somebody who needs these messages. And I've been using that. And in the process, my relationships have started now being so amazing with people in my life. The friends that God wanted to come into my life are now, we have a big relationship. Just a month ago, we were able to open a rehab called Safari Treatment Center at Moranga. And we are running it with my dad. Remember, my dad is 19 years sober. So this is a killer combination. And I want him to be born again. That is my desire.
Amen.
Because with that, at least now we will be able to glorify God. We have some guys now, we are working with these young university guys mostly, who maybe were unable to complete school because of addiction. And this is a life that which has been messed up, you see, which has been aged, and it could have done ministry for God. The difference between the me and the me who was down there is that I used to want things to happen for me. I used to want to glorify myself. Now I want everything to glorify God. Amen. And I believe one thing, and I believe it, the seed that my grandfather planted will not go to waste.
Amen.
Just like God blessed Abraham and his descendants, I believe he will bless it. I don't care if it will be through me or through my great-grandfathers, but I will also plant a seed that through my grandchildren, they will be able to enjoy something I was not able to enjoy. And this time, I have to roll up my sleeves and go back to the devil. This time not as teammates, but I'm going back to him. Not even ready to converse or anything, but to pick up all those pieces of me remaining and tell him, you have taken me for so long, but I am here to prove to you that God can and will if we seek him. The peace that I had always looked for in drugs and gambling and women and suicide, I find it in God. And it's not that I don't have storms. You remember, I'm in recovery. These people might not believe me immediately, but I have to go on every day knowing that they are human beings. And as long as God knows my heart, they will come into terms. And even if they don't come into terms, I have seen the hand of God so many times. Or even if these people come out, I will still keep on pushing. And the thing is, back then I had to force things, relationships, thinking that they were the ones who were going to heal me. This time I have to keep on doing it alone.
Amen.
Not in the clutch or the help of a partner. And one thing I can say is that it doesn't matter where you are in life.
Speak to someone.
It doesn't matter where you are in life. Those in the streets, because they might still be watching me and they'll be amazed to hear Mark talk, wondering, is this the same Mark we knew conning us and conning people here in the street? I was feared. I was the guy who would never be sent money or anything of that sort because they knew I would steal it from them. Now this is a different guy. This is a guy who believes in God. This is a guy who believes that God will use him to glorify himself, not to glorify me. And I am not anointed because of my grandfather being a pastor or anything. I am not anointed because of all these things. I am anointed because the suffering made a demand on who I was. And I had to discover myself in the process. And as a man, if you truly know how gifted and how powerful you are, how great as an individual you are, and you start loving yourself, you start throwing away all those weak points that the devil is trying to use, and realize that even when you were born, God said that I am so proud, and he even rested just because of how happy he was creating you. And once you realize that, you will never sit down and expect people to heal you. You will be out there saying and knowing that the Lord has plans for me to prosper. So any moment where you feel like you don't know why anything is happening in your life, just stick on to what you know. You know that God has already promised that he knew us before he was born. You know very well that he was able to bless Joseph even after going through all those issues. You know that he was able to bless Abraham even when the odds against him, getting a child were against him. And he can still bless you. He actually wants you to get to the end of yourself so that he can use you. And I believe, and I still believe, that I am up to the task of helping anybody going through their addiction. And you can come, we stay there with you 3 months, or we can even do the outpatient with you. And I promise you, as a young man, you may be able to relate with me, because human beings most of the time relate on vulnerability. And having somebody who tells you that I've been there and helping you through the process will get you going.
All right.
I love you, and I love you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark.
Yes.
Share your contacts, maybe Facebook or whatever.
Facebook, Mark Justin, Savali Rehabilitation Center. My number is 0703 615 284. Readily available. I have a soft spot to those addicts, the criminals, and those people who feel like it's the end of themselves.
Right.
And I promise you don't have to be the best for God to use you.
Come on. We had a preaching right there. See what the devil wanted to waste away. But Jesus is powerful.
Yes.
And he's faithful. He will not let you go to waste.
Absolutely.
So please reach out to someone. Get help.
Yes.
Because help indeed is available. Thank you for joining us for today's edition of Testify. I pray that you're inspired, your faith is stirred up, and that your life will never be the same again. Please remember to get in touch with us through the number that appears on your screen, and to remind you that we also have counseling services at CETAM. So if you'd love to get to a counselor, please let us know. We will link you to one. And if you'd want to give your life to Jesus, whatever your need is, just reach out to us through WhatsApp or through the SMS line, through our social media platforms. Sharon Aitore Wangenye is my name. Bye-bye and God bless.